Hey guys, this is Paul with Coastal Upcycling, and do you have a furniture piece that has scratches and gouges in it that are so deep you think the piece is completely ruined? Well, stay tuned to the end of this video and we're going to show you exactly how we deal with them and get those out. Okay, so we bought this beautiful little mid-century dresser a couple of days ago. Everything works excellent on it. The drawers are smooth. Everything is almost perfect except for the top. The top had a lot of scratches and gouges on it. It looks like somebody might have had a very heavy TV on it and they were sliding it all over the place back and forth, which happens a lot with second-hand pieces. So this is something that you'll use quite often and it's very easy to do. All you're going to need is a sander. If you have a orbital sander, hand sander, mouse sander, anything like that, it's going to make the work a lot easier. And then the paper that I'm using is Diablo 120 grit sandpaper to start off with. And then we're going to finish up with 220, a little finer grit, because we are going to paint this piece. And then you're also going to want an iron. You can use your clothes iron that you have lying around the house. You can go get one from the Goodwill or thrift shop, secondhand, that we can just keep it in your workshop. Or, I think even Walmart, you might be able to get one for 10, 15 bucks. So definitely want a good working iron, and then some rags and a little bit of water. So let's get started and I'll show you exactly how we deal with these scratches. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these scratches that we're talking about. I'll get a good little zoom in there. You see that? Pretty deep. Pretty deep. That looks like a little varnish coming out. But take my word for it, the whole dresser top is covered with these types of scratches. And we're going to show you how we deal with them and get those out. So the important thing to remember about scratches and fine furniture is, one, you have to understand your piece. You have to know, is this piece a solid piece of wood that's up on top, or is it veneered? Has it been covered with another thinner piece of wood glued on top to make it look like a different species of wood? 9 times out of 10, that's going to be the case. Furniture is mass-produced. Even when it was in the mid-century, the 40s, 50s, and 60s, they were trying to make them as quickly as possible to get them out to as many people as possible. So they're going to use a hardwood underneath, and they're going to put a real thin layer of veneer of a different species of wood, whether it's walnut, cherry, oak, any type of really nice high-end piece of veneer is going to go on top. So I mention that because when we do the sanding process, it's very important that you really take care to not sand through that veneer piece. We're talking about millimeters thick, probably a fingernail thick. So you can go through it really quickly, and you'll see that happen if you get really heavy-handed on the corners and the edges. So just take care with the sander. I really stay away from the edges and corners because those are really easy to sand by hand anyway. So I'll kind of show you my technique as to how I hit the ends. But so I just wanted to mention, quick warning: watch your sander. Don't be so heavy-handed. Put it on a medium setting. Don't go all the way to the top end of the RPMs on your sander, especially if it's got an adjuster like this one here. Mine goes to 6. Let's set it to 3 or 4. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So we mentioned the thin veneer on top. You don't want to sand through that, but you do want to get down to the wood grain and the fibers, where you'll know when you get down to wood, because it doesn't feel smooth anymore. You'll see that the lacquer is gone and it just looks like a really nice piece of wood. Once you get to that point, stop. Don't go any further. And so let's go ahead and start that now. Okay, quick word about safety. Understand how your sander works. Read all the instructions and directions before you get started. Definitely, when you're sanding anything, you don't want that stuff in your lungs. Use some sort of dust mask. Mine has got a little respirator tip on the front there. And safety glasses. There's going to be stuff flying around all over the place. Definitely, if you can, do this outside. If you're not able to do this outside, definitely have some sort of ventilation system. I've got the door open. I've got a fan blowing. Door open, fan blowing. And in general, just be safe. You know, you don't want to get any of this stuff in your eyes, your lungs, or anywhere. So we'll go ahead and get started. So if you can see here, this is the area that I'm going to work on, right here. This is some lacquer that's come up, and then there's a bunch of scratches all over the place. So we're going to use that as our example on how we get some of these scratches out. Okay, you see that? All right, let's get started. Okay, so ain't nobody got time to watch me sanding and sanding and sanding and listening to the sander just going and going and going. So a quick word on using a power sander like an orbital sander or a mouse sander. Very powerful machines. You can easily burn through your veneer if you're not careful. So make sure you keep your machine moving around and don't focus on one spot. If you're working on a little area like I am right there, you say like it's a little 2-inch area, go out about 10-12 inches to the left and to the right and kind of feather in, if that makes any sense. I will do a tutorial on sanding coming soon. I'm getting all of my information together. That way I can go in depth on how you properly sand a fine furniture piece. But till then, let's go ahead and fast forward and get to the good stuff. Okay, so you're going to have to forgive my shoddy camera work here. So we're going to go ahead and do a little voiceover here. This is our method. We're going to get an old rag, we're going to put a little bit of water on it, and then we're going to get our iron and just steam out the deep gouges. Make sure that you don't leave the iron in one spot too long, because what you'll end up doing is heating up the adhesive that the veneer uses to stick to the piece. And then you've got a whole nother problem of veneer coming up. So just kind of work in small batches of time at a time. Get your iron nice and hot over those scratches, and what's going to happen is you're going to start heating up the wood fibers, and they're going to loosen up again, and they're going to expand. So hopefully the theory is that those deep gouges and scratches are going to start swelling up again. And then at that point, you let it dry out, and then you're going to use your sanding block or sander to smooth it back out again. And you'll start seeing these little divots and scratches disappear. So that's the method in a nutshell. Again, forgive my shoddy camera work. If you see the 2 little scratches on my thumb there, that's from our little kitten. She won't stop scratching. Okay guys, so as you can see here, we still got a little bit of moisture left from our water and iron treatment, but you can see some of these scratches are starting to disappear. Now like I said, it's not going to get rid of all scratches or gouges. Some of these up here feel pretty deep, so we're going to try to give them another little treatment here when this dries up. Or actually, we can probably try to do it right now. And let's see if we can get some of those to come up for us. So we'll put our cloth there, put a little bit of water on it. And remember, you got your hot iron, and we're just going to let it stand on there and let the steam do the work. Alright, so that's pretty much the technique. That's all we're doing, is we're getting it wet, we're ironing it out, we're letting it dry, and then we'll move on to something else. I've got an area that I worked on already. Trust me, it looked exactly like the area that we're working on, and this is the result. So I've got my 220 paper. I've got it wrapped in an old sanding block. All right, once it dries in a couple of hours, once this area that we worked on dried in a couple of hours, we're going to come over here and we're going to sand by hand. And you want to go with the grain. Back and forth slowly with the grain, not too much pressure, just enough to get your sanding block going back and forth. Okay, so there you have it, folks. That's how we deal with deep scratches and gouges here at Coastal Upcycling. Hope this information was helpful. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to our channel at Coastal Upcycling. If you found this information useful, please share it with a friend and let them know about us. And if you found that it wasn't as informative as you liked it to be, or I missed something, or if you have a better method, please let me know in the comments below, and I'd be happy to respond to them and see if we can figure something out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Good, Daddy.
Yeah?